We will call the village board meeting to order. Everyone rise to say the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk would please call the roll.
Mr. Hupkey.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. March.
Here.
Mr. Hands.
Here.
Mr. Bowden.
Here.
Mr. Hack.
Here.
The approval or corrections to the minutes of the September 11th, 2017 regular village board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, a motion to accept as written.
Motion.
Second?
I'll second that.
Motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Bowden.
Mr. Hupkey.
Yes.
Mr. Bowden.
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
And Mr. March.
Present.
Accounts payable and payroll. Payroll pay period ending 9/11/17 in the amount of $43,852.37. Accounts payable, general fund, $79,906.96. Water and sewer fund, $28,559.75. Capital improvement fund, $834.50. Giving a total of all funds, $109,301.21. Are there any questions on any of the bills or payroll? If not, a motion to pay the bills and the payroll.
I make a motion we pay the bills and the payroll.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Hack.
Mr. Hupkey.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes.
Mr. Bowden.
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Yes.
Mr. March.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Public comment and or questions on any non-agenda item. Reports of committees, police chief's report.
The only thing I would mention is next board meeting, if we're going to set Halloween hours, I'd recommend probably what we've been following is from 4 to 7. So
Is what day of the week does that fall?
it's on a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Help me?
Tuesday.
It's a weekday. Only reason I remember that because I went to the grocery store yesterday and there was a little bit of candy in the front rows. So that's it.
Okay. Yeah, we will put that on the agenda for the next meeting, but yeah, it's typically 4 to 7 is what we do.
Tuesday.
Okay. Engineers report?
At the last meetings, someone was asking about the side curves on North Street for those ramps, that they look kind of odd. I talked to Public Works, they're actually out there and they're putting them in. They said they did do it right, it was to meet the grade, so they still had to backfill. And if you look at it, they look a little bit more normal now that they backfilled the landscape, but they weren't done the way they should have been with the grades that were out there.
Thank you. Is there any updates on the Ratsby project?
The Ratsby project right now is on target for a January 2018 letting. The only thing that might push us back a letting is IDNR's review. And even if it gets pushed back until the March, it still should be summer construction. That's what we're shooting for. So hopefully start in the spring. The majority of the project in the summer when the school's session.
There is some flooding issues on Oak Street. Are those going to be addressed at all between Division and Mill?
I think one of the things we're talking about with this project is that culvert.
Yeah, the project is putting in a brand new culvert, larger capacity, so the water in certain storm events will get out of the neighborhood faster. But the one thing it can't do is prevent Rock Creek from backing up in a very large event. So it can't fix that, but it can fix flooding from certain types of rain events.
Because from what I was told from the last administration was that the dredging that may be done to prevent some of that would be up to the property owners from
Well,
ranching on.
we've talked with Mr. Burkhardt, who owns that Little Creek, and we had agreed at one point in time to contribute to clean that up, because that's not part of the drainage district, that Little Creek. So you have your Rock Creek Drainage District that takes care of the creek, but it doesn't take care of that tributary. Thank you, Kevin. So he had talked about having it done. He'd gotten some prices, but I don't think anything has happened with that yet. I can reach out to him and see if he's planning on doing that this year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that is Liz.
Okay. Any questions for the engineer? All right, we will move on, no old business, we'll move on to new business. Item A, David Rock Police Pension Report. That's going to be moved to the next meeting. He was not able to be present this evening, so we'll move on to item B, Marcy Colberg, Smith Kelly Dykstra at home.
Thank you. Just telling them I can't see with or without, so I'm just getting rid of them. You have your audit hopefully in front of you. It's a blue bound document there. I see some of you have that. Just going to take, I'm going to say 10 minutes. I usually go 15 maybe, but just go through a few things with you. As usual, the report that you get from us, which is on page 1, is an unmodified report, meaning there's no exceptions that we need to report, anything like that. So that has been consistent throughout the years. On page 3 is Exhibit A, which shows where you were at as of April 30th of March 31st, 2017. Your cash positions, investments, all of your liabilities. A few things I wanted to point out to you was overall your cash decreased by $90,000. 153 of that was into the governmental type activities, and the business type actually increased about 63. Just a reminder, I'm not sure if we've got some new people, the business type activities are your water, sewer, garbage. All your other funds are considered governmental activities. So just a reminder on that. With the cash going down in the governmental activities, you did pay off $100,000 of liabilities, so that's where the majority of that cash went. The net pension liabilities and the net deferred inflows and outflows related to the pensions, actually the liabilities decreased about $470,000, but the net deferred inflows and outflows increased about $650,000, so the liability overall went up. The difference between the two, the net deferred outflows and inflows, are what has happened in the past with the liability because of changes in benefits, terminations, refunds, interest calculations, that type of thing. The liability then is what's projected after they bring all those numbers forward and project out who's going to retire when, and have that separate liability. So the deferred part you really can't do much about because it's what's happened, and they don't hit you all at once with any of those changes. They stretch them out over a number of years depending on what kind of change it is. But the liability is the one that you really have more control over. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes here. So overall, if you look at the very bottom, your unrestricted net position, which is the second to the last line there, the governmental activities has got a deficit unrestricted net position of $3.3 million. You'll see the last liability there is $4.2 million liability for the pension. That's the cause of your unrestricted negative position. You do have some reserved restricted monies for streets, capital improvements, and some other things because of the levies. That amounts are restricted. So once you take those out and compare them to the other assets and liabilities, you've got a negative 3.3. The business type activities has a positive $600,000 net position. If you go to Exhibit B on the next page, some good news. Your expenses, and again, have all of you seen this last year or no? Some of you knew, and I know it's not the easiest thing. Your expenses are on this show up on the left-hand column, and it's by primary government, again, the governmental activities, which is everything but the water, sewer, garbage, and then it shows what you collect from people that are using your systems and various things. It's the program revenues, and then the bottom right comes down to your property taxes and that type of thing that are offsetting all of these expenses. But your total governmental activity expenses actually dropped $11,000 compared to last year. The $3.182 million was $3.192 last year. Your charges for services dropped about 18,000, and your grants between the various grants you received went up about 5,000. Overall, you were actually within $598 of last year on your net expenses, that top right-hand section. Then you brought in your property taxes, sales taxes, et cetera, of 2.4 million, so the governmental activities went down, lost money per se, $356,000 last year. Your business type activities, the expenses again went down 77,000. Your charges for services went up about 24,000. So in those funds, you did lose 124,000. Most of that is due to the fact you're no longer receiving the property taxes because the bonds have been paid off and the way the accounting is. You received 100% of the property taxes in there, but the liabilities didn't show up as expenses. So a little bit of a strange thing going on there. But the good news, like I said, is your expenses overall were down. Unfortunately, some of the revenues were down also. Your state revenues, if you look on page, I'm going to skip through some of these because a lot of it is information you're getting each month on that, but Exhibit E on page 7, your state revenues, and if you go to that left-hand column there, what I'm talking about is your intergovernmental revenues. All of those listed, other than the grants and the motor fuel, you actually were down about $61,000 in state revenues from last year. The other item to note, and I believe Marcy and you guys have already talked about this, is the property taxes for this coming year that you are in. You were capped. They took the pension, about $100,000 out that they've been allowing you to extend for the pension outside of the cap. In the 16's levy, they said, no, that is part of the cap, so you're going to have to be careful because you're going to be probably $85,000 to $90,000 lower in overall property taxes in the current year than you are going to be, than you have been in the past. So when we were going through numbers, I was like, Marcy, is this really right? Because the numbers are so different. So yes, because of that. So, and when David comes next month, I'm sure he's going to let you know too that those property taxes for the police pension, if we don't keep up with what the actuary is telling you should be contributing, that net pension liability on the front page is going to continue to go up because the actuary calculates what they believe is going to be needed for the future, and if you're not matching that, that liability will continue to go up. So on page 28, you'll see a little bit more about those liabilities in the footnotes. The first one is the IMRF liability, which is everything except police pension. And the right-hand column there, the net pension liability for IMRF is $277,696. If you go back to page 31, the police pension liability is $4,048,237. And that's the one that with that property tax now, not falling outside of the caps, you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do to, continue paying that pension and not have that liability continue to rise. On page, if you want to flip back a minute with me to page 12, it is the information on the police pension. It's a separate fund, considered a fiduciary fund. You guys are just basically holding it for the benefit of the pension. The total assets in that fund is $1.3 million. And on the next page, on page 13, you'll see the contributions. The village put in $186,000, plan members put in $47,000, and then you have various deductions and the gains on the investment earnings. So the pension fund was actually up about $85,000 this past year. Just a couple more things for you. If you flip back to page, put it down here. It's note 13. It's at the very back. Talking about, not the back of the notes, page 34. Had some subsequent events this year that are significant with the village purchasing some land for various things. And then we also noted the sale of the water and wastewater systems to Aqua, and just put that that will be for 12.3 million. And I know that's not closing here until next summer, whatever, so, but we do have to note for the readers that. Page 42 starts some of the budget versus actual, and just a couple numbers wanted to point out to you was that all of the departments were within budget, other than, and I don't mean to be picking on the police department. Police department was over, but the majority of that was because of the way the pension expense gets reported through here, that net pension liability and net pension expense. So you would see on page 43 there, the pension expense was 186,000 and it was budgeted for 79. So that was the majority of the police department going over. And then back on 49 and 50 is the breakdown, if you want to see, of the water, sewer, garbage, the various fees, and then the expenses, if you want to see that detail. And again, I believe you see that almost every month. So just to update you on a couple things, Marcy does have the PDF for Bill to send to the police fund and get all that taken care of, the pension report taken care of, the state annual financial report. The state does not have the form ready yet. It is due theoretically Friday. We've done an extension already. The form is not available yet. As soon as that is available, we will be getting that done and getting it to Marcy. It needs to be signed and sent in to the county clerk. We send it to the state once we get authorization from you guys to do that. So they're saying another couple weeks, but they've been saying that since June. So we're not holding our breath. We're just getting extensions done and having things ready. So as soon as it is ready, we will finish that up for you. So any questions that I may answer? Okay.
For the water and sewer,
Which page are you on?
49,
Okay.
so am I reading that right, that it's a net loss of 141,000?
Yes, after depreciation.
After depreciation.
Right, before depreciation is 102,000, but after depreciation of the system and all of the equipment, related equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, and you don't want to forget depreciation because that theoretically is the charge that it's going to take you to replace.
Right.
Now, it's usually not enough, but you know, that's what the idea behind that is. But yes, it was 102 and then 243,000 of depreciation. Anyone else? I'd like to thank everybody again. As I've said in the past, this is one of the favorite places for my staff to come, so they somewhat argue about who gets to come up here, so.
We thank you, and we thank our Marcy too very
Yes.
much for all the hard work, making it one of your favorite places to come.
That's right. So if you've got questions throughout the year, please let us know. Marcy knows to get a hold of us, and we'll just go from there and let you know when the AFR is ready. Steve, you will need to sign,
Okay.
and then we'll get that going. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marcy.
We're going to item C, ordinances. Number 1, an ordinance granting a fence variance for certain property located at 412 South Ratchy Road for the Ingrams. This was approved at the last meeting, but this is just the official ordinance to move forward with that. This would be ordinance number 17-13. Motion to adopt.
Motion.
Second. Motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Bowden to adopt ordinance number 17-13.
Mr. Hupkey.
Yes.
Mr. Bowden.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Yes.
Mr. March.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Number 2, an ordinance granting a fence variance for certain property located at 418 South Ratchy Road. This would be ordinance number 17-14, same scenario, approved by the board at the last meeting, just passing the ordinance to finalize. Motion?
Motion.
We got a motion by trustee Jones, second by trustee Bowden.
Yep.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Bowden?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Yes.
Mr. March?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Item 3, an ordinance amending Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 150, Building Regulations in the Village of Peotone, Will County, State of Illinois. So we have here, this is the amendment to that ordinance. And this is kind of, we're grouping in the fence ordinance that we talked about last meeting, taking out the verbiage for the gaps in the fence, and then we're also talking about building codes, updating our building codes. And this is coming out of building committee, so I don't know if Trustee Upke, if you want to talk on this a little bit. We've got Tom Pankey, who building committee has been working with from our, was it Safe Build, correct, Tom?
With the help of Tom Pankey and Trustee Bowden and Trustee Ham, we've got this pretty much down, and we're going to be working on a new shed ordinance in up and coming weeks to get that out of the way, and really not much else to say, just we need to get this through. And
Right. So what, Tom, do you want to kind of give a brief overview of, what we're looking at?
Tom Pankey, I'm the village's building inspector, building official, and I am the South Dakota Region building official for Safe Build. We've been working a long time trying to get the codes updated. The International Code Council amends the codes every 3 years. Generally, towns prefer to wait a cycle before they adopt a code, get rid of all the problem areas. So they're in the process of coming out with the 2018 code. We are moving from the 2000 International Code Series to the 2015. But I will say it does not really have much impact on our building because nobody follows the 2000 code. In fact, I asked several architects if they even had a copy of it, they said no. So any new construction we get generally is with the updated codes anyway. The only thing that is changed a little from your fence regulations than what we had discussed was the fee schedule. I try to keep fee schedules out of various ordinances and keep them in the main fee section. This section calls for a $50 permit fee. The fee schedule that was already adopted by the board years ago calls for a $55 fee. So that's why I try and keep them all grouped in one ordinance. Everything else is the same as we had discussed with the exception of the depth of the fence posts. That's going from 36 inches to 42 inches, which makes it consistent with our frost depth in all of our other ordinances. I already discussed with most of our major builders the fact that we're going to the new codes and really no one's had any issues. We've put a tremendous amount of work with the board into putting these together, and I would like to point out that I'm proud of my company. We are not charging the village, or we have not charged the village anything for my time in updating these codes.
And we appreciate
As a thank you for the many years that we have worked with the village. So if there are ever any questions on the codes, I'd be happy to answer them at any time.
One of the things that was taken out of the 2015 that we are not looking at is the residential sprinkler portion, correct?
There's two major amendments to the code that we've made, that we are proposing. One is the residential sprinkler requirement is required in the NFPA Life Safety Code, and it's also a requirement in the 2015 residential code. We have eliminated that residential sprinklers are not going to be required in this code. The other big change to the code, from my viewpoint, is the fire code makes the fire protection district the authority having jurisdiction over the fire codes. And I felt it important that the village, who is responsible for the economic development of the community, is the one that ultimately makes that decision. We consult with the fire district, but ultimately the village has the authority. We felt that was very key.
Any questions, discussion?
Just want to make sure that residents also know that building committee also came up with the spacing, which is no longer required.
Right, and we had talked about that at the last
Just
meeting.
to make sure that they knew that that's also in there.
The 2-inch.
No.
Eliminating the quarter inch.
Yes.
The no longer buried.
Stays the same.
The 2 inches staying the same,
Yes.
but eliminating the quarter.
Yes.
Right.
The plan is to follow up with the shed, like at a later time.
Yes, that'll be a separate, yeah.
That'll be a discussion and
And as stated in the ordinance, we did notify, as required by the state, we notified the Capital Development Board that we were intending on adopting new codes, and we've done that well over 30 days ago.
Any other discussion, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 17-15, an ordinance amending Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 150 Building Regulations in the Village of Peotone, Will County, State of Illinois.
motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Bowden.
Mr. Hupkey.
Yes.
Mr. Bowden.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Yes.
Mr. March.
Yes.
And Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Tom. Thank you very much. Yep.
Yeah, just wanted to bring the board up to date on a couple of development issues that the mayor and I were working on. We met with a grocer last week. It was a very positive meeting. One of the things they're going to require is a study that gives them a square foot per, dollar sale per square foot number, that's what kind of drives the wagon to them agree to building in a new area. And of course, they want us to pay for the study, provide it. We've talked about it, and I contacted the study people that they use. And they're about 2 weeks out from even getting us a proposal, because that's how busy they are, but it's Dakota Studies. Dave Retzloff is the guy's name. The study would be about $7,000, $3,500 up front, and the balance plus expenses, hotel, whatever, because they're coming from South Dakota. But at the end of it, there's no guarantees that the study will come out well. There's no guarantees that it won't come out well. If it does come out well, we're pretty sure we'll get a commitment from the grocer. So, and I can only use those vagaries because A, we're under confidentiality, and B, these are things we're just gonna have to do. I do have the money in my economic development budget. There's $32,000 in there we have not touched yet. And some of these studies are just gonna have to be done for some of these people to get things going. So, and Mayor was there, he heard it firsthand from the grocer that that's what he wanted. So, but it's a positive step. Also, on Thursday, I'm heading mid-state, meeting with a hotel chain, and hopefully we can get some activity. I got a packet coming tomorrow from the Realtor on the east side of 57. Hopefully we get some activity there with this hotel chain. They're very interested in the east side of 57 by the pond, by the lake there. So I'm going down there Thursday, meeting with them, taking some information with them, and hopefully we can gather some interest there. And finally, the truck stop group for the west side of 57, or the larger gas station, I should say, gas station group with the Dunkin' Donuts and another restaurant is back in the picture, very interested, and we're meeting with he's out of the country for 2 weeks, and we're meeting with him when he comes back. So, but in the meantime, I would kind of like to have your permission to at least tell the grocer that we're going to go ahead and do the study. If of course, I want a semi-commitment from him that, you know, we're gonna do this thing, you know, we need you to make sure at the end of the day, you are gonna be committed if it comes back positive, so.
What's the study actually do?
It's the dollar per square foot for retail, so basically what retail looks at is what, they have their square foot store, and this one would be about 30,000 square feet, 35,000 square feet, and then what they can anticipate is income per dollar per square foot. And that's what tells them whether they can afford to rent, or to build, or to maintain operations there. And that's all, then these guys go into the demographics and all the, you know, the available money from people in the area and things like that, and where they spend their money on their grocery money and things like that. So, and they do studies on every store they do, so.
How accurate are they?
Well, I've never seen one of their stores close. So, I'm assuming it's pretty accurate, and I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, I just don't know.
I just wonder how they could come up with a number like that.
Well, these guys, you know, first of all, and he told me, it's kind of a boilerplate thing. He goes in and he looks at certain things, and he can tell the grocer exactly, you know, within a pretty close proximity of what he's gonna earn per square foot. And at the end of the day, the grocer has to decide if that earnings is good enough for his operation to be there.
And without that, I mean, he's not gonna come here no matter what.
Well, if we don't do the study, he won't come.
Right.
So, he's not gonna pay for it.
Who will own the study, us or him?
We will.
We will.
And
He'll
we'll
get it.
use
I mean,
it
we'll
for
get it.
other
We'll both
retail
have
owners.
copies.
Right.
So we're basically doing a retail development
Yeah, it won't be
study.
exclusive, but we're
It's
doing
not
a
targeted
retail for
just for-
grocer, so it's not gonna have a whole lot of impact on the next retailer that comes in, but at least it's a number that we can kinda go back to and say, well, here's what we did on the grocery side, and it was, you know, that kind of thing, so.
Okay, so it's not something confidential we're
Right.
doing for him, it's something
Correct.
we'll own and we'll be able to.
Correct.
But we've had other good news that we can't talk about right now, we're just, because we don't wanna
Right.
jump the gun, but we have had other good news, so.
How long is that study good for?
Oh, probably a year.
I believe he said about a year.
Yeah.
So like Pat said, if you have other ones come in, 7,000's nothing.
Well, I think it's just something that we have to do.
We should have.
You know, to move forward.
Kind of a partnering up.
If we do the hotel, I'll be honest with you, if we do the hotel group as well, they're gonna want something. They're gonna wanna be able to prove that they can do 50%, you know, occupancy.
That's gonna require some other kind of a form of study.
Right, so these guys all require their own, and I found that out the years I was going to Vegas to the ICS, that's the first thing they ask you is, well, do you have, you know, a hotel study, or do you have a retail study, or, and not Buxton, okay, not that one. I'm talking about a real in-depth digging your, you know, figure out your economics study, so.
But these are the kind of things we're gonna have to look at and to do, you know, to develop.
So do you want a motion?
I don't think we can't really do a motion tonight, we just kind of wanted a feel, and then we can bring it back to the board, you know, for formal action at the next meeting. But we wanted to be able to get on the list, you know, to get this moving.
Well, and I want to call the grocer and say, yeah, the board has interest, and we're going to go
Right.
to approval, where are you at?
I have an interest.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, good. That's everything. Peter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Doing good?
All right, anything from the board? Questions, discussion? We still have, right, I had the dates written down. Branch pickup is still going on, I believe, till, I want to say October the 15th.
I think it's the second week.
Yeah, I think it's October the 15th, and then leaves start up right around that same time. But we'll get that, I believe it's up on the village website, that I was talking with Bob.
Fall Fest dates?
Pardon me?
Fall Fest dates?
Fall Fest date is October the 21st. That's coming up rapidly. It's hard to believe it's almost October. But yeah, Fall Fest, and we had, I think, previously approved street closures and so forth for that, but we'll come back and make sure that we have all that information at the next board meeting. But advertising is going to be starting to come out for Fall Fest.
Are they going to continue to pick up electronics all through the winter?
The last I knew, talking with Chief, was they were, yes. That program was going to continue to go on through the county.
It's a fantastic
That's,
program.
yeah, first and third Wednesdays of the month, 5 to 7, right here by the police station. And there's still always vehicles, I mean, every,
Oh, yeah.
Busy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of calls, too. Real quick here.
Yes.
October 16th, Mayor and I are going up to Schaumburg to meet with IDOT on the interchange. So Troy was able to get us a meeting with them, so we talked to the head honcho there about our concerns, and maybe if we can get something done.
Try to get some kind of lighting or traffic control, just to.
Or widening.
Widening.
Anything we can, yeah.
Trying to make it a less dangerous situation.
Those off-ramps need to be moved back about a quarter mile.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, at least we got a meeting, which was great. That was pretty quick, really, for IDOT. Yeah. So,
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, the overpass type of facility.
We may want to put out some kind of a memo for people in the leaves to keep the parkway not on the street. I've
Right.
been seeing some gradually out there.
With the dry weather, it seems like the leaves are coming on faster.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah,
any way to
it's-
speed up
it's
the pickup?
Really dry. I don't know, we'll talk to Bob.
I mean, there's probably not a large
Yeah.
amount, but some of these trees, specific varieties are...
I believe he was targeting the middle of October.
And I know he's still running a street sweeper too. so
Right.
That
yeah, that was
helps.
out there. Also, on that vein of the I-57, Troy was able to talk to Will County, and they're in the mix, and they agreed that we need to talk to IDOT, so everybody's playing nice right now, just saying.
Anything else?
Sidewalk writing, I know I missed the first committee, was that brought up?
We didn't talk anymore about it. They've been out grinding, I know. They've done some,
Okay.
done quite a bit actually throughout the
Yeah.
village. I don't know the exact, Kevin, do you have any exact?
Not since the last meeting, I just know they divided the town. I think he said there was 6 zones and 4 of the 6 were done.
Okay.
So,
Seems like the east zone's pretty well done.
yeah, I think all they had left was out.
The west.
Going and that area, I believe. I haven't talked about it.
Right.
Anything else? If not, a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Ham, seconded by trustee Jones.
Mr. Ham?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. March?
Yes.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Bowden?
Yes.
Mr. Hassett?
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned.